Welcome everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I really appreciate that we finally hit the 50k subscriber mark. Thanks everybody who's following us here on the channel for investing in Chinese stocks, a focus on EV names and so on. And this video will be a couple of mixed topics here. First, I want to do a little bit of a follow-up of the news that I pushed yesterday and the video I did, and some news around that, so NIO and Envo, but then I also talk about a little bit more about what's going on in the macroeconomic sphere and Donald Trump and its impact on China, as well as some other Chinese brands. So let's go into that. Sorry, this time might be a little bit unstructured, but I thought I will just quickly go through some news feeds here and give you those topics instead of, preparing different videos on each of these topics. I hope you can still appreciate that. Please slash a like, and also, would be happy if you could share it somewhere with your friends. Now, first topic, let's dive in here. So we have our, the Dongxi Patreon community, which you might know. It's currently not open for others to join, but might be in the future again. But anyways, there's one person in there. He's Lei Set, so that's his alias here on the internet, and he's a guy living in Beijing, and I personally met him actually last time when I was in Beijing. So from time to time I do meet some of our Patreon community members both in Germany and in China, and we had coffee, so I know him personally. But he's been a contributor to our all members chat here, and yesterday he posted, guys, I wrote a long post on the NIO app. In 3 hours it had received more than 300 replies, and below is a dirty translation by ChatGPT. So the topic was, does NIO still have a future? A die-hard fan's 6 thoughts questions by Lei. And so I thought this was a very interesting share here, first in the community, in our Patreon community, but then this got so much traction that really, if we go into the NIO app here, I can show this. This is in Chinese only. As you mentioned, like many people really shared this article, and you can go and read it for yourself. You just need to get a translation service, and basically this article was written from the bottom of his heart, and outlining as a shareholder and NIO car owner and fan how he thinks currently things are not going optimal, right? And so he outlined those 6 points and tagged also William Li. And well, what can I say? It went as far as that William Li, the CEO himself, replied to this post and said, thank you for this message. Weilai 确实不是完美. So NIO is not perfect yet. We are really working hard on changing things. So I think the important message here is, and that was also the feedback that I got from you guys yesterday, that NIO is not managing communications properly and so on. Well, they do notice our feedback, and I think, for example, when we had a change in CFO position last time, all those things are happening because they are really reading and noticing what people are saying online. So this is, one of the strengths of the NIO community. This is the app that you can download in China, where you have this basic social media board where people can write their thoughts and experiences with NIO. And as you can see, this is a very, very active community. And so you have this feedback mechanism, which is kind of woven into the fabric of NIO as a company. It's very unique. It's helping to make products better, services better, and in this sense, hopefully also the management and the shareholding better overall. So I think as a startup, it's normal that not everything goes according to plan, but it's important that management and especially Li Bin here as the CEO is aware of problems and how we perceive the company and the stock, and what's going on currently in the whole EV sector and how NIO is comparing to that. And because we have this feedback mechanism and loop, I mean, imagine there's no Volkswagen CEO or BMW CEO which gets this kind of direct feedback from users and can basically translate that into actions with their agenda which they have for the company strategy. So these points, and I'm not going into each of them, have been well received by NIO management, and I think we are aware that they are aware actually that we are complaining about stuff like that, and so they will be acting on that. So I think whenever we say like they're not hearing us, that's a bit too far off. They are actually hearing us, and we should be aware that they will take the feedback to the heart. Now, one way how we actually get some feedback already today is from the Onvo CEO Tia Cheng, who said it will exceed 10,000 in December. So he's basically saying, look, guys, I see all of those replies that are going on social media about the current Onvo deliveries and the question marks around the deliveries and so on. And this has been, just a new message here sent by the CEO of Onvo during a live stream where they were driving an Onvo car to Guangzhou, to the auto show, as far as I know. So you can see they are kind of sending this message out there, updating us and enhancing basically the outlook here and saying, look, we are on track. At least that's what he thinks. Now they also need to deliver, obviously. That's what I said yesterday, right? But at least we get this update, and this way they are also communicating. Maybe sometimes we will not always see these messages because this is on Weibo, this is in Chinese only usually, and we need to try and find them and kind of communicate them around, right? So these are some updates, from the NIO side, basically, that management is aware of our complaints and that things are happening in the background, and that we can expect them to act on these issues. So that's, a good thing, in my opinion. And now next, maybe let's talk about some macro factors. I think what's currently going on is a little bit of the Trump administration setting up with, the different personalities that they are choosing for the different roles in the administration, right? And I think most of that is actually fueling one trade, which is very negative currently for China in general, which is the US dollar. Is on the rise, and this is here now in relation to the Chinese yuan. So you can see the US dollar is spiking green, is getting stronger and stronger against the Chinese yuan, and it's very close to meeting a very difficult resistance to break for the US dollar. But currently, I think all of this very hawkish news towards China, for example, now we get the confirmation that also Marco Rubio will be Secretary of the State and so on. That's fueling the fear that the Trump administration will be very confrontational with China. Okay, and so I think that's part of it, why the US dollar is strengthening, because basically everybody's saying, the US will be outperforming everybody going forward. For example, also maybe with Elon Musk and its Doge, the government organization for efficiency, and maybe the expectations towards that that will help fuel a new economic miracle in the United States versus maybe China staying flat, right? And that has impact on currencies, for example, and on interest rates. What's interesting, I think, is the role of Elon Musk, which we have to talk about here. For example, yesterday I saw that Elon Musk was rooting for or cheerleading here Ted Cruz announcing that he's going to be voting for Rick Scott as GOP leader. That's an interesting one because Rick Scott is super hawkish on China, so he would be like, very bad for China, in my opinion. And it's interesting to see Elon Musk, really endorsing such kind of persons, as well as, for example, with Rubio, which he congratulated. So, given the fact that Elon Musk has such a high stake in China with his, biggest market and also the factory, it's interesting to me that he is really not as friendly to China as one would have assumed, given his closeness now in the Trump administration. So that's something certainly to watch. I think maybe the consumers in China will not be aware of the fact that he is maybe pushing here an anti-China personal narrative in this regard. but definitely the Chinese government will watch this closely, and we'll see whether or not this is kind of an asset in some negotiations going forward with Trump administration versus China. So piling up the hawks here in order to have a tougher stance and so on. But it will be interesting to watch Elon's role now. Now he's part of this administration, and now he's showing his face here, and it's a bit surprising to me to see it like that. On the other hand, of course, not everything's going smooth. So, for example, Rick Scott was out of the majority leader vote, and now it's between the other ones. So we'll see over the next couple of days and months this might settle, and we'll see then what will be the long-term strategy here. Again, this will have impacts on this US dollar versus Chinese yuan trade, and currently this is weighing a lot on the downward pressure of Chinese assets, in my opinion. But I also said before, I think that the Trump administration is actually in the favor of a weaker US dollar. And I just quickly asked ChatGPT here for giving me a couple of reasons why it could weaken actually the US dollar, like this new administration. And let's just quickly go through. Number one could be trade protectionism and tariffs. A Trump administration might push for protectionist trades, true, and tariffs on imports to protect American jobs and industries, which could weaken the dollar by reducing trade flows and increasing production costs domestically. So yeah, I think that's the plan for the Trump administration, right? Then also interest rate uncertainty. If Trump policies lead to pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates to stimulate growth, which he also said he wants to do, the dollar could weaken as lower rates make US assets less attractive to foreign investors compared to higher yielding alternatives. Then third reason, expansionary fiscal policies. The Trump administration might push for aggressive fiscal spending, such as infrastructure projects or tax cuts. So the tax cuts, I think, they are pretty much coming, and this could increase in deficit spending and lead to inflation expectations. Well, I'm not so sure about the deficit spending because that's what the Musk, government efficiency position is now for. So they're trying to cut costs there. Musk has expressed his views that the deficits are a problem for America. So maybe they can work on that a little bit. But let's see. Rise in debt levels, again, something that they wanted to avoid but could happen. An increased government borrowing to fund spending initiatives could elevate the US national debt, which might dampen investors' confidence in the dollar and lead to concerns over long-term fiscal health of the US economy. And then reduced foreign investments with protectionist policies or heightened geopolitical tensions. Foreign investors might be more cautious about investing in US assets. So these are 5 sound reasons why actually interest rates and the US dollar could collapse going forward and could enter a downtrend. I know people like, for example, Cathie Wood of ARK Invest, who is obviously a big supporter of Elon Musk and Trump, says she's very bullish on the US and the US dollar. She suddenly becomes a dollar bull, while this has been also not good for her personal investment strategies with ARK Invest in the past. But now she's, I think, in the view which I summarized before, that they think the US economy is just becoming so better than everything else. Right now, by the way, US valuations are making up 60% of the total world in valuations. And so we are stretching it on there, but people argue that this just will go higher US dollar, more people buying US assets and so on. Maybe that's the case, but at some point there might also be, the opposite happening, which I'm personally betting on. So this was the news about Onvo. Maybe some other news before I round it up here. We've got some insights here from the CFO of NIO, who has been attending a Automotive Globalization Sustainable Development Forum. And in there, he was talking about how much NIO has already invested in R&D, 50 billion yuan, and that going forward, they will basically try to keep it around 10 billion yuan per year annually. So that would be around 350 to 400 million quarterly if I round it. And so that gives us a little bit of an outlook of where things might be headed on the R&D side, which is one of the bottom line criteria, right? So I think that's pretty much around where we are currently, but a little bit lower, and seems to be kind of fading out a little bit. So not a clear path towards profitability yet, but on the other hand, this gives us a bit on of a guidance to where we can look for. Obviously, the sales and the profit margins on the car sales need to make up for all of this R&D at some point, right? And it seems like they want to hold it steady from now on. So that's an insight. And then last but not least, well, yesterday I posted this on my X that Geely plans to integrate Lynk & Co and Seeker. That seems to be happening now. We got on the social media Seeker and Lynk & Co both posting that 1 + 1 is better than 2, or even infinite, or that is kind of showing you those guys are merging up in order to become stronger together. So both of them are Geely holding companies, right? And now it is also merging in a way with a share transfer and also some operations that will be kind of merged together, and will be interesting to see how this will be going forward. So yeah, a couple of mixed news that I wanted to cover this morning. Thanks for watching, and see you in my next videos.